Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to welcome you to the final of the Freshers Tournament 2018. The motion reads, assuming there's conclusive evidence of Russian collusion in the election of Donald Trump, this House will scrap the election of November 2016. Welcome the Prime Minister to begin this debate.
The Speaker of the House, panel. In framing, we say that there is conclusive evidence, and hence, scrapping will mean that we are declaring that the elections are null and void. Repeat, null and void. The President and all cabinet members he has elected will be completely ousted out of their positions. We say that with a matter of urgency, in the long run, we are going to vie for re-elections after we have scrapped the election of November 2016. We say that we push it through a system of better efficiency and accountability, and the outcomes, irrespective of whatever they skew to, will be respected and will be taken in good faith. So, panel, what do I bring to you on board? I tell you, number one, that if there is conclusive evidence of a Russian coalition, that the election process in itself is not free and fair. Number two, I tell you that no country has any right to influence a democracy, much more unless Russia in this instance. Then the third thing, I tell you that there's one that once there is conclusive evidence, and with a state as America in itself, we cannot necessarily take a position like that, because it will lead to a state of anarchy and civil disobedience in the long run. So, number one, the election process. America in itself is an epitome of democracy. It is an uncontendable fact. America in itself has since the very ages been the main proponents of democracy. They have a decentralized system and a centralized system. It is their mark of democracy that they've intervened in many lawless states all around the world. And it is because of their reputation in the long run that has given them this position. We say that once there is conclusive evidence of a Russian coalition, the election process is not fair and free. And then on every basis, we are going to scrap the election process. We say that it's not a true reflection of the rights and privileges of individuals within America, either Republican or Democrat, either Republican or the other side. We say that the main core of an election is supposed to represent the mandate of individuals, much more or less a very great democratic society like America. And hence, once the election has been rigged in any instance by conclusive evidence of a Russian coalition, it is not a good image for the US in itself. It's going to tarnish the image of the US on the international front, and it is something that will not be taken lightly. And so I, as Prime Minister, will say, and we the team from Opening Government will say, that we are scrubbing the elections as a matter of agency, because we need to maintain a standard of democracy to the world and to our people. Secondly, we say, now, on the issue of no country has a right to influence a democracy, much more or less Russia, we say that Russians and Americans in themselves have different ideologies. It goes back way to the Cold War, and even to the Syrian crisis, whereby Russia and America in themselves have different and opposing stance. This what's it called? Conclusive evidence of Russian coalition means that Russia in itself is influencing the elections of America. It is putting itself in a position to be able to influence the veto power of America in the United Nations. And it is not a good stance on whatever level that Russia in itself is pushing an interest and a mandate to the whole world because of its wide spectrum or wide or incoherent ideologies with America. It is not good for any nation, much more or less America. And so, we, the American people, will say we are scrubbing the elections
Point,
of
sir.
November 2016. I'll take you later, gentlemen. And so, on that basis, we say that Russia in itself is a bad actor. It is not in good terms or good relationships with America. And on that, it is going to justify itself by influencing the veto of America in the long run. I'll take you later, gentlemen. And hence, that is a bad reflection of American principles, and hence we are scrapping the elections. Yes, I take you,
Yeah,
gentlemen.
from the motion, we all know that already Russia has has been involved in a collusion which turn around the results of the election. Now, engage why when you scrap it, it is a better solution than any other alternative.
What I'm trying to tell you is that we are going to scrap it with the matter of urgency. We say that it doesn't represent free and fair elections. And I told you that Russia in itself has an interest which is bad and corrodes that of the United States. And hence, your argument or your point is invalid. Queens is winning this debate, whether I like it or not. Thank you very much. And so, in going forward, we say that with the matter of urgency, we are scrubbing these elections. We say that Donald Trump in himself as the President of the United States is not credible because the credibility of elections are at stake, and hence, while the credibility of elections are at stake, the U.S. citizens in themselves in the long run are going to say that okay, there's conclusive evidence, and the U.S. is not doing anything about it, and so on the basis of the credibility of the elections, we say that with a matter of urgency and all things being equal, we are scrubbing the elections. We say that listen, even if you are providing alternatives which will come from the side of opposition through a constitution and etc., we say the conclusive evidence in themselves were derived of that constitutional process, and that on any basis, that once there's conclusive evidence, we are scrapping elections in the long run. We say that we are scrapping elections because we need the people to trust in the system. We need the people on whatever basis to trust in the system. That America in itself is a justified democracy. That it has a good image in the likeness of the United Nations. And that on any basis, Trump in itself cannot continue on what any level. We say that we are scrubbing elections, and then as a matter of urgency, we are going to do re-elections, and hence all issues of handling of power or anything or complications that will come from that is out if opposition wants to argue. So panel, what do I bring to you on the floor? I told you that as a matter of framing, scrapping, we say that we are going to declare that elections are null and void, and we're going to remove Donald Trump as presidency and all his cabinet or all the individuals he elected into office. We say, why do we do that? Because the election process has proven not to be free and fair, number one, and that Russia in itself is a bad omen for America, and that on any basis, Russia in itself will advance on its ideologies, which will prove bad. And I've told you that there have been varying ideologies on the side of the Cold War and the Syrian crisis. And I told you that it will lead to a state of anarchy and etc. And my co-debater is you come and give you further analysis on points we got from this motion. On any level, we say that the Queen's team is taking the scalp to the Buckingham Palace. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please,
Thank you very much.
Co-debater is so SHS. His teammate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. Would like to invite the Leader of Opposition to open up the case of opposition. Ready when you are.
The chair, the House. OG's entire debate was based on how the elections is being unfair, and because of this we should scrape it. But then here's where OO comes in and tells you that scraping this won't even solve the problem. Okay, the problem is there has been an interference in elections. Okay, and we are talking about how this thing can go on and on and on and on, and why government should focus on solving the problem at hand, not necessarily scraping it. We will prove to you why not scraping it won't even solve the problem, and scraping it will even cause more problems in the status quo. Okay, now OO comes into this debate, and then we prove to you burden number one, why scraping it is problematic. Okay, we also go on to prove to you another burden, why we'll give you a counter solution, and we tell you why our solution will work. We go on to tell you how why scraping elections is not even enough punishment, because here is a situation whereby Donald Trump, with collusion of Russia, have been able to interfere in elections. Here is a situation whereby someone has committed a crime so severe, okay, and why scraping it isn't a punishment. We are talking about giving a punishment to someone who has committed a crime of this gravity. Okay, now Ojin comes in and talks about how this is not fair and this is not fair. We agreed and concede to the fact as OO that yes, elections are supposed to be fair. Citizens in the country are supposed to hold people accountable based on elections, okay? And then we admit the fact that this is not fair. But we are saying that scraping it will not solve the problem. What problem have we identified here? We're talking about interference of elections, okay? Where a great nation such as America has had its elections being interfered into, okay? So we are saying that scraping this will not solve the problem. We prove to you a burden, okay? Why scraping is problematic, okay? We've said that now this government is in power. This government has predetermined policies, okay? Policies which are already running, okay? So in this stead, scraping it will bring an end to the policies. We know that policies and budget framing comes in with a lot of resources, okay? We allocate resources to these kind of policies. I mean, the status quo, okay? Trump has brought about so many policies, and as these policies go on, monies are used in these policies, resources are used in these policies. Scraping this will cause an end of these policies. We talk about how this will cause an economic downfall, okay? How this will reverse the political system, cause so many problems in the status quo, okay? We continue to talk to you about how we can continue to prove a burden, okay, why our solution will work. But first off, we'll give you a counter solution. The counter solution here is that let him serve his 4 years. Let him end his 4 years, okay? And after his 4 years, the Republicans and Donald Trump should be given a ban on elections, okay? That they will not be coming into elections for about 3 consecutive times. And we said this is punishment enough, okay? We talked to you about the gravity of the crime, about how colluding with Russia is so serious in that it is going against the very facets of democracy, okay? And because it's going against the very facets of democracy, it is punishable, okay? We should punish it. Scraping in this sense isn't punishing the person. Now, OO talks about deterrence, okay? Where in this situation, punishing them to that gravity without counter solution will cause a deterrence, okay? In that individuals will not even think about doing these things, which will cause so many problems. So OO talks about deterrence, how deterrence there will be deterrence in the system when you use our counter solution of banning the Republicans from ever for contesting for a number of years. And with this, we tell you that this will solve the problem of interfering in elections, okay? This will solve the problem where individuals think they can collude with other countries and thus solve the problem. So we tell you that scraping doesn't solve the problem. We said that bringing a counter solution of banning Republicans and then for a number of years, and this will solve the problem. Now we talk about how scraping this won't solve the problem, and we've proved to you this. Now we tell you that also going to prove to you another burden, okay? A burden that why scraping this election is not enough punishment. Now they have questioned our accountability in democracy. So in this sense, if you are able to punish them enough, okay, they'll not collude to these things again, and then to solve the problem of interference, so that America will not even have any such problems ever again. Okay, now we go on to talk to
POI.
POI.
So you are saying you're going to ban elections by Donald Trump. Donald Trump here is not the one who influenced or rigged the elections. It was the Russians. Thank you very much.
That is why we tell you that we are going to ban Donald Trump and the Republicans to serve as deterrents. Why are we saying this to serve as deterrents? Serving as deterrents in a state that everybody in the country realizes the gravity of this. Now, we talk about how we are supposed to strengthen these facets of our democracy. How we are supposed to strengthen these facets of our country, okay, to help solve this problem, not necessarily scraping it. We tell you that in scraping it, we justify to you why scraping it will cause so many problems, okay? We tell you that these individuals have put in place policies, okay, which are working. They've put in so much resources, which in this sense is helping to move the nation forward, okay? So in this stead, if you are able to do this and scrape these elections, okay, they are causing so many problems to the nation as a whole. POI.
Okay, you talk about the fact that scraping it is going to stop policies that Donald Trump has put in place. But do you know that in every government there's transitioning policies set up so that when the next governments come to take over, they continue the good policies from the previous governments?
Okay, that's what we talked to you about in this sense, because individuals think that the scraping had a form of influence from Russia, okay? These individuals will not be willing to even continue this kind of policies, okay? Because they believe that these things have some kind of Russian influence, okay? So in this test, individuals will come in and then cause a kind of problem to the resources, so that we tell you that resources are stopped at this thing, okay? Resources which have been sent out to various facets of the economy fails, because these individuals feel like Russia is in a way manipulating the systems, okay? So they will not even go on to these policies. They will end these policies, and which will cause so many problems to the nation and to everybody as a whole. So now, what has OO come into this debate to prove? We tell you that scraping this election won't even solve the problem. We identify the problem as interference of elections, okay? Interference of elections. We tell you that scraping this problem will cause so many other problems, in that resources are going to be cut off, okay? In that individuals have these people in government, okay, have brought about policies, and these policies are working. It is clear in the status quo that these policies are working. So in this stead, if you come in and then you scrape the elections, it will bring it to a standstill. Your point on transition, okay, doesn't stand. In that these individuals will feel a kind of manipulation by Russia. So they'll not even continue with these kind of policies, okay? We also justify to you why we give you a counter solution, okay? That let the 4 years end, and after place a ban on the Republicans to serve as a form of deterrence, okay? So that in this stead, they will not come and then no other person will feel so superior and feel that they can be able to collude with another government or another country and then cause interference in elections. We talk about how elections are so important and how the gravity of this crime is so propensous that in this stead, we should bring a punishment, okay? Met a punishment out to them, not necessarily giving them scraping the elections. We thought that when you even scrape the elections, then there's a chance that they can even come back for to vote again. And in this time, if they vote, they might win it, okay? Because then the government didn't tell us that they are going to prevent them from even contesting, okay? So in this stead, they contest and they win. So you are saying that even this interference is continuing to go on. So you say that our counter solution will solve the problem, and we've proved to you that you scraping the elections won't even solve the problem and to lead to more problems to the nation as a whole. Proud to oppose.
Thank you very much, Leader of Opposition. We would like to invite the Deputy Prime Minister.
Panel, this is what Prime Minister brings into the debate. He gives you the framing that since there's conclusive evidence that as a nation, we are going to declare these elections, the results of these elections null and void, and that all persons who were elected as a result of this will be ousted from their positions of power, and that all measures will be put in place to ensure a re-election process, to ensure that the true choice of the people is noted. The true choice of people is noted in a process where there's strict vigilance and effective security measures taking place. So this is what you get from Prime Minister. He tells you that every election process has to be free and fair, and that we need to maintain our reputation as a United States government, to maintain our reputation as a nation, because while we are known worldwide to be the epitome of democracy, we are known to be the epitome of democratic principles. So we have to maintain that reputation as a government. You also get from Prime Minister that no country has any right to influence the democratic activities and actions of another nation, and much less Russia in the democratic principles of the United Nations. He also tells you how deciding to not scrapping the election, he also tells you how not scrapping the election will go a long way to cause anarchy and civil disobedience. And in addition, I will also bring to you how we as a government deciding not to scrap the elections and going with whatever alternative that opposition is trying to bring in will end up crippling worldwide democracy. So before I go on, I'd like to rebut some of the points made by the opposition. So oppositions actually comes here with a very wrong stance, claiming that Donald Trump is the cause, but they are seeking to punish Donald Trump here and punish the Republicans. But the thing is here, the evidence here is against the Russians and not Donald Trump. So I don't know why they are taking this personally against Donald Trump, because he is actually, how should I say, he is actually a victim, if I should put it that way, out of this whole process. He wasn't the one who caused it, but he's also has to suffer the consequences for it. And they also come here saying how problematic this is going to be, and how these nations have, that how he has already set into motion predetermined policies, and that once there's a new government, then these policies will then be put on hold because the people will not be willing to go ahead and trust these policies because they will see it as a Russian influence. And we say then, if you acknowledge that these policies which have already been put into place, that these policies which have already been started are based from some Russian influence, why do you want the people to suffer the whole 4-year term or the whole term under this Russian influence?
Point,
when
madam.
they can live later, when they can live when they can live under a governance system, when they know that there is no external influence coming from some country whose interests are certainly not in their favor, who is not looking to trust for the betterment of their nation. So your whole idea about this problematic thing and how the transition is not going to follow these policies is actually
POI,
the
madam.
thing is that because you get from Prime Minister that there's going to be an election process, that if truly the people want Donald Trump to be their president, he will certainly come out top. And then if his policies are what they want, it will certainly continue. But what we want, or what you are getting from OG, is that we do not want our nation, our governance system to be based on a foundation that is not credible. We do not want our governance system to be based on a lie. We want our governance system to be based on something that is proven, something that is true, something that is tried and tested. So we want to scrap these elections. We want a re-election process where we know that the true choice of the people has been respected, that the true choice of the people is what is coming out. And so you come here and you say that we should let it go. Then we say that if we allow this to continue, then we are telling the people that your choice doesn't count, your vote doesn't count, because, well, you said you wanted this, you wanted that. By the end of the day, some people influence this, and because like we can't change things because it's going to cause a lot of problems for us as a government, so we're going to lose a lot of money. Go with, to hell with your choice. That is not what we want. We want to respect the choice of people. You come saying that it doesn't solve the problem, and you come bring in some, I don't even know what your alternative is, but you come bring it saying it doesn't solve the problem. And we say that, would you rather that we live, or we base our governance system on a lie? We base our governance system on a foundation of lies and on a falsehood and all those things. And we say that no, as a nation, we cannot do that.
Point,
we cannot
madam.
allow ourselves to face a governance system on a lie. So
Point,
I go on
madam.
to talk about how, to add on to what Prime Minister said, on how this, on how scrapping the elections will prevent this whole civil disobedience and anarchy that is going to come from the system.
Engage
so
closely.
certainly, once the people know, once there's conclusive evidence, certainly the people will know. The citizens will find out that yes, there has been some collusion, that there has been some falsehood in the electioneering process. That at the end of the day, what is being put out there, that the people who are in power now, it doesn't necessarily reflect their true choice. So what is out there is not necessarily what they want. So the people will not be ready to work with and collaborate with that
POI
system.
here, madam.
The people will not be ready to surrender their welfare into the hands of a government they know is being influenced by their enemies, the Russians. Because we already know how the Russians and the United States have always been from opposing ends in terms of ideology. You already get that from PM, how they all have various, like, varying ideologies. They all share different, vast opinions, and that they have never really ever come to a consensus. And so that we know that whatever influence Russia had in the elections was certainly not in the favor of the people of the United States, was certainly not in the favor of the citizens of the people. And so we do not want that for our people.
Here,
so
madam.
once the people know that it was Russian influence, and they know that the Russians are not in their favor,
Engage.
they will certainly go against this law. There will be an uprising, civil disobedience. There will be lawlessness. There will be anarchy, because the people will not want to go ahead and support whatever policy and whatever ideas or whatever ideals that this system is bringing in. And also go to tell you how this will cripple the whole democratic principles of the entire world in effect. Because we have told you already from PM that the United States is seen as the epitome of democracy. And so all democratic countries, all developing nations in Africa, for example, all look up to the United States as our measure, as our metric for democratic principles. So once the United States has recognized that yes, there was a fault in the system, but then we are deciding to be fine with it and stick to the faulty, or stick to the lie and live with it, then what does that say to the rest of the world? The rest of the world which is now nurturing their democracy, the rest of the developing nation which is now nurturing their democracy. Then they see that, okay, well, it's fine if there's some rigging if I rig the elections and come into power, because at the end of the day, because even if United States says that it is problematic and they cannot change power, they cannot change and cannot have a transition, then, well, I can rig the elections and come into power. The people will still accept me because it will be problematic to change. So then I'll be able to still have my power, have my full term, and do whatever I want by wrong means. And that is not what we want for our people. We want the people's choice to be respected as a government. We want our people to respect we want to maintain the face of the United States. So this is what you get from opening government. We tell you that elections.
Thank you very much, Deputy Prime Minister.
Her credibility and her reputation.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Deputy Prime Minister. We'll call on the Deputy Leader of Opposition.
Okay. Panel. So, OG.
Please relax.
Panel. It shows clearly that what OG has missed a very important part of this motion, which is collusion. And they have shown that they don't understand the word collusion. Now, with collusion, it means what? Trump came together, or the Republicans came together with Russia, and that was how come the interference came. But they came here only to paint Russia as a bad country and are denying the fact that America is part of the thing. The key word is what? Collusion. So don't come and behave as if Russia is the only country that resulted into this thing. No, collusion means what? They came together. And we are not saying that what? They shouldn't punish Trump. But what we are saying is that the punishment you guys are proposing is not deterrent enough. And we are not saying Russia shouldn't be punished. But we don't care what OG does with Russia. But the thing is that Republicans and Trump are the people who are going to be affected. And we believe that they should be punished. But the punishment you guys are proposing is not enough. Now, OG didn't tell us that when they scrap this election, further elections or elections to come are going to be free from interference. OG didn't say anything like that. Which means what? The scrapping is not a good solution. In that, when the election is scrapped, they will allow what the Republicans to contest in elections again, and who knows, they can still use interference to win these elections. And that's why the scrapping is not a right solution, because there is the probability that the Republicans can still win through interference. They didn't bring any policy that after the scrapping, they will make sure that there is no interference.
POI.
Now, first of all, I would like to tell you how democratic or how large the democracy of America is. Now, America is a land of freedom which is built on what? Democracy. They have very deep roots in democracy, and election is one of the fundamental units of democracy. We tell you in principle that because America is a fundamental, or so many countries see America as a fundamental unit of democracy, we believe that whatever America will do should be very legitimate. In that, if Americans scrap this election, they send a wrong picture to the general world that if you notify any misgiving in elections, you can just go ahead and scrap elections. We are saying that what? America shouldn't scrap the elections, but they should use legitimate means, vote out the man, and then what? Deal with him later, which we are proposing as the ban, and that will be deterrent enough. Scrapping the elections doesn't work. I will engage you.
You talk about the fact that he should be voted out, but how is he voted out when he was not even voted in legitimately?
You can't say he wasn't voted. Whether he was voted in legitimately or illegitimately, he is the president, he's in power. And he has been voted in. So you can't say, even if he was voted in illegitimately, he is the president and he is in power. That's what you are saying. Now we go on to tell you what? They try to what? Twist backlash in their favor, which is very unnecessary. And we tell you that what? Backlash will be better served when the election is scrapped. In that, Trump has supported, the Republicans have supported, and that is how they won, even if there was interference. So we tell you that in principle, when the elections are scrapped, Trump's supporters are going to revolt. whether it was they use legal means. OG didn't tell us whether they are going to use legal means to scrap it, whether their court order is what is going to lead to the scrapping. They didn't tell us anything like that. So when the elections are scrapped, what? Trump supporters or Republicans are going to revolt, and this is what we call backlash, not what they seem to portray as backlash. They are what? Calling for a civil war. Scrapping the election is a way of what? Bringing a civil war to America. We are not agreeing to that. We are saying the man should be voted out and then punished, whereby he will be banned, and then that is deterrent enough. Now, from CO's PO, I got to see that they are coming to run some arguments on transitional policies, trying to lie that America is a country which is having transitional policies, and scrapping the elections won't destroy the policies that Trump is putting in, as my OO said. Now, we tell them that America is not a country which is running on transitional policies. Obama brought his policies and left. Trump brought in new policies. If they were running transitional policies, Trump wouldn't have brought in new policies. And even Trump is trying to what? Take out or take off some of the policies that Obama brought. That's Obamacare. Trump is trying to remove that thing. So if you say that, well, America, even if the man is removed or even if the election is scrapped, he's not going to, the policies are not going to stop. We tell you that in principle it's a lie, because Trump brings his policies and he must do it. When we take them off, the policies are going to be cut off, and this is not good for a country which is very democratic, or a country which is everybody looks forward to go in a straight line. What's your view?
On your policy of banning, we say that America thrives on the democracy of Democrats and Republicans. In the long run, is going to destroy the foundations of democracy in America.
It doesn't destroy the foundations of democracy. The foundation of democracy is using what? Legitimate means, which is what? Elections. If someone finds his way into government illegitimately, he should be what? Taken out legitimately. That's what? Using election to take him out. So you don't just stand up. You didn't tell us that you are going to get a legal backing to scrap the result. You just told us that. I don't know whether someone will just stand somewhere and say that the elections are scrapped. You didn't give us anything legal. So we are telling you that even in principle, that punishment is not deterrent enough. Now, I will talk about what? The economic effects that this, my opposition leader tries to do. I also try to what? Dwell more on what? The effects that this will have on America, as opposed to the few benefits that they didn't even tell us any benefits. Now what? When the elections were conducted, whether they were electronic, phones were used or whatever, we believe that America used resources in conducting these elections, and it's very big money. So when these elections are scrapped, we tell you that no matter what you seek to achieve at the end, there is no value for money. In that you scrap these elections, and then you are going to create, there will be other elections, and you use money again to contest or to run this election. There is no value for money. After scrapping this election, you are going to conduct elections again. The money that you used first was wasted, and you didn't even achieve any result. I think you're out of order. So what did we tell you? We tell you how scrapping this will be a better form of backlash, will bring a better backlash in that world. Trump supporters are not going to agree. How it will be, it's going to be a bad economic effect on Americans as a whole, not only Republicans. And we also told you how democratic America is, and if they are so democratic, they should use legitimate means and do the right thing, not scrapping or just scrapping elections, or they should vote the man out and then what? Give him a punishment that is deterrent enough. This person have what?
Thank you very much,
that's very grave. That's
Leader
very
of
grave.
Opposition.
Elections.
Thank you, Deputy Leader of Opposition. We now move on into the closing halves of this debate. We would call on the member of government to come and open up the case for closing government. Please, we are ready when you are.
Yeah, I am. Panel, the opening halves of this argument have already come to clarify the motion in the sense that there's already a problem that has existed. And this problem is the problem of electoral misconduct. And that one, we are not going to argue against that. Now, we are saying that this problem occurred due to the issue of Donald Trump colliding with the Russians. And that one has already been established. Now, what we from the government side are arguing on is that this problem can only be solved and should only be solved through the scrapping of the election that happened. Now, what did opening government come here to tell us? Opening government comes to define the scrapping, and then they also talk about how this elections was unfair, as we already see. And what did the opposition bench come to tell us? The opposition here came to argue on the fears of writing something that is wrong, on the fears of doing the right thing, speaking on how it's going to affect the country economically. Who told you that the country isn't already suffering economically in the first place? So panel, this problem and solution, which has already been identified, leads me to my burdens. Panel, there are 4 main burdens that we as the closing government have identified in this debate. Now, the first burden we have identified is that, in the first place, what is the purpose of elections? Now, what is the purpose of elections? We've also identified a burden of why a scrapping of the election of November 2016, the only solution to this problem and no other solution. We've also identified a burden of that. How will this scrapping be done? Which they came here to argue in the form and then they couldn't even justify it in the first place. Now, we are also coming to speak on what will happen to America after the scrapping is done. Panel, before I go on to deliver my extensions in this debate, I would like to take on a few rebuttals. Panel, the opposition side of the House argued that we should allow Donald Trump and his government to finish their 4-year term. Panel, all of us can see that this kind of argument is a very, 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 very irrelevant one. In fact, it cannot really stand any kind of intellectual discourse and democratic discourse in the first place. Panel, we are saying that, look, if the wrong has already identified, if the wrong has already occurred, and then we have been able to identify the wrong by proving evidence, should we sit and wait for him to further destroy the United States? We all know that the United States is an epitome of democracy to the whole world. So therefore, righting the wrong instantly will be the only solution. Now, they also came to argue that they also came to argue on the issue of banning of the Republicans and then Donald Trump as a better solution instead of just scrubbing them off. Panel, this is a political party. Donald Trump isn't the first political representative of the Republican Party. So what I'm trying to say, if we should say in the first place that we should ban the party, this is senseless in the first place. So panel, we are saying that on the issue of this saying that we should ban the Republicans, we are saying that it is highly irrelevant. Now, they also argued asking us on how we will prevent future collusions. Panel, this is a classical case. In the first place, they have been able to identify a collusion. So that means that they, in their systems, will be able to identify future collisions to prevent them. Simple as ABC. Panel, we on the closing government are arguing, and our first issue, which leads to our first burden, is that what is the purpose of democracy? Now, we all know that through democracy, people are elected to represent the people on the basis of free and fairness. Now, in democracy, there's transparency, there's also accountability, and then everything is right. So therefore, we are saying that if we really want to affirm democracy, then we need to just stop this thing right in the head. Now, this leads us to our next bet on why we should scrap this election. Panel, we are saying that we should scrap this election in order to serve as a deterrent. In order to serve as a deterrent to subsequent political figures who would like to collide with others in order to cause electoral malpractices. Panel, we are saying that we need to scrap this election to reaffirm the rule of law. To reaffirm the rule of law. The rule of law says that everybody is subject to the constitution. Everybody is not above the law. So therefore, you can't come and argue that the fact that he's in power and then he being in power was as a result of a wrong stance should mean we should allow him to keep on. So we are saying that we need to scrap the elections to reaffirm the rule of law. I take your POI.
Okay, we come and tell you We come here talking about democracy. That's when we tell you that if there is an issue with democracy and it has been destroyed, we don't solve it by wiping the entire structure of democracy, but rather you do something to prove its effectiveness.
We are not wiping the entire structure of democracy. This is a constitutional mandate here before us. And this is the only solution that we are seeing will avert the problem. We will scrap it off and will conduct a re-election to serve as a deterrent and also to uphold the tenets of democracy. As we see. Engage. We are also saying that we need to scrap this off because currently, as we see in America, what is happening? The citizens themselves aren't really okay with the system. Look at what is happening. There are many social justice warriors who go about posting or blogging on Twitter and other medias against the president. President who comes and instead of protecting the people, he is there trying to make the people liable to any forms of danger. Okay. So on this case, we are even saying that Donald Trump himself being there is wrong, and then this is evidenced by what his citizens are doing to him. Now we are also another key extension we are bringing into this debate is that we need to scrap the elections to promote credibility. To promote credibility in the sense that it will prevent further uprising, and then it will also bring a situation whereby they will not be lost in the electoral processes. If we should allow these people to serve their term and claiming that we'll give them milder punishments by just banning the party and then this, some people will really lose the interest of voting. In the first, they'll say, why should I go and vote when I know that if there was a collision in the first time and then somebody came in wrongly, why wouldn't that situation happen? So in the first place, I wouldn't vote. I'll just sit in my home. And when this happens, that will democracy be upheld? No. Things of democracy wouldn't be upheld. So panel, what do we as the closing government bring to you? Panel, we as a closing government are arguing on the principle of the rule of law and the principle of fairness of election. That includes the transparency, accountability, etc. And we have identified some major burdens which we've rightfully tackled. And then our main extensions to this debate was to reaffirm the rule of law, to serve as deterrent to subsequent elections and political figures that will come, and then to also promote credibility. That's to prevent further uprising.
Thank you very much, Member of Government. Please, before the member of position starts, I will not tolerate any form of heckling in this house. Be wise in your asking of POIs.
Madam Speaker,
we shall invite the opposition member to open up the case for closing opposition. Member of opposition, should we skip you? Ready when you are.
Panel, ladies and gentlemen, this debate is about whether the entire election result should be cancelled because of evidence of a few interference or glitches somewhere. And we admit that yes, the elections have been undermined, but we are saying for the sake of the greater good, which is government being in place, we should not scrap the result or remove the government so that we can focus on strengthening our electoral system. Now, what do I bring? I'll tell you one, how maintaining this election, the election result, is good for democracy, and how it is important for government to always be in place, like the structure of government to always exist, and how that another elections, which the opening is proposing, cannot even exist when there is no government, and how this is not in the interest or in the welfare of the whole election. Okay, so before I continue, a few rebuttals. Okay. So they tell us about democracy, how democracy is undermined. But how is there and they tell us that we should remove the whole government, Trump and all his appointees and the rest. So how is there democracy when there is no government? Democracy does not exist when government does not exist. There is no democracy when there is no government in place. And also they talk about transition. How is there transition? Now when you remove the whole government, when you entirely remove the whole government, there is no transition, but it's rather a revolution. It's not a transition of power, but it's rather a revolution. It's rather a revolution. And also they talk about how anarchy can be caused, or civil disobedience can be caused when we don't scrap the election. And we tell you that anarchy will be rather caused, or civil disobedience will rather happen when there is no government in place, when there is no government structure, when there is no government like checking the people, like all the pillars of government are not there. That is when anarchy will be there. And they talk about they also come here and tell us that Trump is Yes, OG tells us that Trump is a victim of this, like it was Russia that caused the election. And we tell you, yes, since Trump was a victim, Trump did not cause this thing, like it wasn't Trump's fault. So why then do you punish Trump? They tell us that scrapping this election is a form of punishing Trump. And they come to tell us that Trump is just a victim. So why do you administer punishment to someone who was just a victim of this cause and who actually did not cause this, or who actually did not connive with the government in doing this? Okay, and CG, no, OG, okay. They also tell us about Trump's incredibility, that Trump is incredible and the rest. But the problem is not with Trump being in government. The problem is just with the election. Now, anyone who contests for an election, anyone who contests is in a way like capable, like he's competent for it. But the thing with election is that it narrows down, like we want people to have the choice in what they say. So it's just about choice. And we are saying that like the elections have been compromised. These things have been compromised. But Trump is credible. Like he's a standing candidate. He's competent in running the government. So they didn't tell us what is intrinsically wrong with Trump being there in spite of this government rigging. And we also tell you that even like in tyrannies, even in nations where people don't vote, like even election rigging and those things happening, but those countries are still standing strong. Why? Because there is government in place. We take places like Libya, where Muammar Gaddafi, Saudi Arabia, where their governments are not like elected, but because there is government in place, the nation is still standing. And CG also comes here and goes opposite of CEO, and they tell us that Trump connived with Russia and these things happen. But the motion was that Trump Russian coalition in the election. It wasn't Russian coalition with Trump in the election. So they totally fall out of this debate, and even they tell us about the rule of law. And here we tell you that law cannot be ruled when there is no government. There is no rule of law when government is not in place. So what they are proposing does not happen.
Engage,
okay, so now we tell you how the effects of scrapping the election. Number one, how it distorts democracy. We will tell you that there will be uprising in the nation as there is no government, like to stand in between, to broker like between tensions and things, and how we'll return to the state of nature. No government, no democracy, no government, no constitution, no government, no rule of law. And we also tell you about how Russia will be smiling when we do this, because that is perhaps that is what Russia actually wants. Russia wants that there will be no pillars, no structures of government. Like the whole pillars of government are there. We don't have like international representation. We have nothing. Everything is null and void. And so like for that short time, for that short period, what Russia will take to do with US not being there, we not being there, they will do a lot of things that even when we come back, we cannot do anything about it. And that is what Vladimir Putin wants, and we will not give him that. We are saying that for the sake of the greater good, he should be maintained in government. And we also round this argument about injustice, about how Trump himself did not cause this. Like this is unjust, like when you remove Trump, because it is a form of punishment. They are punishing that person, but he did not cause this. It was we should rather focus not on punishing Trump or his administration, but should rather focus on how we can together go ahead and even punish Russia, not punish Trump. And we tell you that how another elections cannot even be organized. Now all pillars of democracy is undermined. There is no like finance minister to even allocate money for election. Like nothing is there. No one is standing. How can elections be organized? Now this is why it is very important that even before every election, like we don't do election before, like there's always government in place before election. Why? Because we need a government in place like to uphold the things. We need a government in place to actually actually organize certain things being there. And that is why it's important. That's why we don't remove a government before we have elections. But a government has to be there before elections are organized. Why? And also we tell you about how the powers of the US will be undermined. We know that government is basically to hold power. So why Trump is there is just that he will hold power. He will hold the US power there. And how we as a nation will lose power when there is no Trump. How we as a nation will lose power when there is nobody being there for us. Okay.
POI. You talk about the fact that if Trump is taking and his government is taking off, there will be no government, right? But don't you know that there are interim governments? For example, in Russia, when there was a revolution, they brought the provisional party. So then that party was there till there was new elections
out
gathered.
of
So
order.
then engage that.
So you talk about the interim government, but who is there to actually select this interim government? Now you are here saying that the whole elections and every entire thing, every pillar of government is actually illegitimate. Nobody is worthy to be there. Interim government, like is between the two parties. But here is the case where you run one party so incompetent and everything that they've done. So there is actually no mutual understanding. There is no space for us to even focus on an interim government. It rather creates a place of anarchy, civil disobedience, and where no one will regard or respect each other, and where we just focus on doing our own thing and pushing our own initiatives. And that's why we are saying that it is important for government or governance as a structure to always be there. So what did we actually bring into this debate? We tell you about how it is important for governance to always exist in spite of everything, like the importance of governance always existing. We also tell you about how it undermines the purpose of democracy when we scrap this election and remove these people from there, how it undermines democracy and the whole thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Member of Opposition. We'll call on Government Whip to come and sum up the case of government in this debate. Ready when you are.
Panel. So this was happened so far in the debates. PM comes to talk about, they define scrapping, and they say that it means that the election is null and void. And they talk about the principles of efficiency and accountability. And they also talk about the fact that the election process was not free and fair. And they also talk about the different ideologies between Russia and America, which we are going to make extensions on. Okay. Now, before I go on to my main points, I would like to rebut points from the opposition side. First of all, you talk about the fact that there will be no value for money because the government is going to waste time and resources into investing to a new electoral process because as a result of this conclusive evidence. And we are saying that why should the principles of democracy, which America was founded on, should be put at an expense because of something like mere economic problems. And we all know at the fact that America actually does not have that kind of economic problem that you are creating out of nowhere. And then also talk about the fact that I asked, you said that it will be for the sake of the greater good. But right now, which is the greater good? The greater good is the fact that the rule of law has to be upheld. So then, if you are saying that we should take Donald Trump off for the greater good, it doesn't make sense because the greater good in this situation is for the rule of law to be upheld. And then also talk about the fact that there will be. You said that it is going to be a form of a revolution. It seems like you don't understand what a revolution means. Revolution is not in this situation. What a revolution is that we are changing. There's a complete change in ideologies. Okay, that's coming into the country. But now here is a case where the president has committed a crime. The president has committed a crime. So then, if we are taking the president off, we are not saying that it's a revolution. We are just changing. That's the reason why we're also not saying that it's a revolution is the reason why we talked about the fact that I asked a POI on the transition government, which you really did not answer me. But I'll explain to you. Because if it's going to be a revolution, then there will be no transition government. Because that means that they are going to accept that all Trump's policies are bad. But it is a case where America knows what's good for itself. If America sees that this policy is meant for, Trump said that, okay, there should be gun control laws, who would think that that's influenced by the Russians? Anybody with common sense will know that that's something that says the lives of American school kids who are being gunned down every day, every week. We all know that in February, February this year is the 5th time that America has engaged in shootouts in schools. Then you also talk about the fact that we should not punish Russia. We should rather focus on punishing Russia. How does America even start taking a step to punish Russia? Right now, we are dealing with our people. If someone does something, if let's say, let me bring it to domestic terms, okay, you are a father of a house, and then your son has done, your son went out to fight with someone in school. Do you go to the school to punish that person's son? No, you punish your own son because they did the wrong thing by engaging in that fight. So now what America is doing, America is fixing its problem from the roots. They are looking at its own people to solve this problem. Now, now let me go on to my main points. First of all, my member came to establish on the importance of election. Now, why are the people given the right for elections in the first place? The importance of elections is for the people to choose their own government. Now, if you are saying that the government should be continued for the rest of the term before whatever punishment you are proposing should be given to Trump and the Republicans, then you are just biting yourself in the butt because you are going against the principles of free and fair election. And also, we talk about the fact that
I've been misquoted.
And also, we're talking about the fact that there's clearly conclusive evidence. The motion states there's conclusive evidence. So if there's conclusive evidence, it's not like there's like allegations against Trump. There's conclusive evidence. So then why should we not subscribe to the rule of law? I'll take you later. Then we also talk about the fact that it's going to serve as a deterrent for subsequent governments. Now let me give you 2 case studies. We all know of the Watergate scandal with Richard Nixon. When the Watergate scandal happened, Richard Nixon he came to the American, as a president, he owed the duty to American people. He came to the American people and he stepped down off the government. He stepped down off his seat. So what does that show you? That shows you that that's a responsible act of a responsible government. Now, we also talk about the fact that Bill Clinton with the Monica Lewinsky scandal, Bill Clinton was impeached. Okay, he was impeached for his immoral act. Now, let's look at the subsequent American presidents right now who has engaged in such acts as Bill Clinton. So we are saying that this is evidence of the fact that it's going to serve as a deterrent for the other subsequent governments that would plan to engage in these activities. And also we talk about the fact that there will be unrest in this country. Now it's a clear fact that the whole world, Africa, everybody was surprised that Trump won the elections in the first place. So now, if now there's a conclusive evidence, which the motion states, if there's conclusive evidence that Trump won the election by colliding with the Russians, then imagine, because already as it is now, we talked about the fact that there are social media justice warriors always posting blogs, tweeting against Trump's Trump's policies and all of that. And now they have even conclusive evidence that Trump even came to power without the correct way. So then you can imagine the kind of rallies that will be going on, because already every week the feminist groups, the gay rights, they're always the Mexicans, the minorities, they are going on rallies and protests every day. So you can imagine how these protests are going to double. And you can look at the black people. We all know that it's clear in America, whenever there's policies put against the black people in the ghettos, okay, we know the effects this happens. The protests in these ghettos have a serious effect on the economy. So then we are trying to stop this, which is by ascribing to the rule of law. Now you also talk about the fact that PMK talk about it, but we're going to capitalize more on the different ideologies between Russia and America, okay. We all know of the Cold War, okay. Now this tension between America and Russia has gone on for so long, and it's still going on, okay. Now we're talking about the fact that even something mere as going to space, America and Russia were fighting over it. Now, if the fact that Russia has been able to infiltrate Americans' president, what do you think that now if you don't scrape this election away, how do we know how the stronghold that we don't know how strong Russia's hold is over Trump? We don't know how strong Russia is going to continue controlling America through the president through Putin, that is Trump. Okay, now we're also talking about the fact that you mentioned Security Council. Now we all know that both Russia and America are permanent members of the Security Council, and every member has veto power. Now this is a case where Russia, aside its veto power, now is at the end of the day even controlling America. So we can imagine there's going to be distrust in the principle in the system of the whole system of the UN in the first place.
Thank you
so now,
very much, government member. Government whip.
No, come and tell me everything you wanted to say.
We'll now call on the chief whip of this house to sum up this debate.
Please, in case you lose, don't worry, we'll give an award for best dressed. Okay.
And please, can we have some silence as he speaks? Because we would only write what we hear. And if you make noise, we will not hear much. Thank you.
Panel, what we are saying as closing opposition in this motion is quite simple, and the closing government is failing to understand. We are saying that on principle level, if something is wrong with something, or if there is a mistake with the system, we don't wipe the entire system away, but rather we seek to solve the solution, or we seek to find a way to prevent the mistake from happening again. In other words, we learn from mistakes, but we don't pretend as if it never happened. And that is the way this government is trying to see, and that is what we are here to prove to this house. Also, that's what we are here to prove to this house. Before we go on with our justification, I'd like to take some rebuttals before I extend our case. The opening of this debate came here clearly stating that the president and the entire cabinet and everybody he came up with, because it was a parliamentary and presidential elections, so all those people that came up with him would be wiped out of the system. And also claimed that they will pursue elections through a better system. That is our engagement to them, that in your quest to wipe out the system, electoral commissions or all appointees of government are parts. So the people who are in charge of elections, the people who are in charge of elections are also sacked in your quest to sack all the appointees or all the systems Trump brought into place. Who then is going to organize that free and fair elections? Because now you these people are undermining Republicans for being involved or being involved with the issues of Russia. So it means that you guys don't believe in Republicans anymore. So now it will be left with the Democratic Party to bring up with systems that will come and organize these elections and all those things. And this will clearly show a bias in the system where the Democratic will do things that will favor their system. Because you understand that this is a two-party thing, and you are discrediting one and leaving the entire power to one. This is what democracy actually preaches against, and what you are doing is actually what hinges on what harms democracy and not what happened in the elections. I'll take you later. So the closing halves also the opening half also said that Russian is was the bad one here, is the bad actor, and hence we should punish him. And the main speaker came in talking about Donald Trump not being credible as a leader. His deputy came here talking about Donald Trump being innocent in her quest to rebut the point that Donald Trump should stay 4 years in office from the opening opposition. This is an ideological inconsistency, because you said Donald Trump is innocent and hence shouldn't stay in office. We shouldn't allow him to stay in office for next 4 years. And he's innocent, and you come to tell us that Donald Trump is not credible to be left as a leader. So the entire argument actually is clashing, whether Donald Trump should be there or shouldn't be there. So it's an ideological inconsistency on their bench, and they fall out of this clarification. Now let's come to closing side. I'll take you later. Closing side comes to this debate and talk to us how it serves as deterrence. But that is this is how we engage it. That there is no deterrence, because rather you understand that US is a bi-party system, as in two-party system. You are rather crippling one side, giving power to the other side. And what is the deterrence in this? There is no deterrence. You are actually seizing power in a formal way to one side of the country, and that affects the systems of democracy which you yourself are preaching. So what are we saying as closing opposition? We come here and tell you that the problem is unfair elections that is negatively affecting democracy. And now the solution you bring is that we should scrape off the election totally. And this is our principle, that there is a mistake with the electoral system and not with the people in office, because the people went for vetting, they qualified and were valid members or runners. So it means that they are as potent as any other running mate. So if the means is undermined, you just check it so that the means will never be undermined again. But the people in question are highly credible, since they have passed vetting and every other thing in their quest to come as government. In their quest to come as government. Also, we say that they talk about interim party to come and take over when all these systems are brought off. And that's where we tell them that Republicans are being undermined. So it means that in the creation of interim party, it will be biased to the Democrats. They will be the ones to appoint the new ones to take office for that short time. And you are just making it a nice form of tyranny, a nice form of monarchy. And that's not democracy. So you say that you are preaching democracy, but in effect, you're actually destroying democracy. But in effect, you are actually destroying democracy. I'll take your view.
You talk about the fact that these people that we are saying the election should be scraped, they pass vetting. But this is the case where you can't compare it to any normal electoral corruption, because this is a case where Russia, another country which America is not in contention, is in contention with, was involved in this election corruption. So
okay, so that is when we tell you that the problem is not with the people, neither is it with Russia, but the problem is with the systems of election that allowed Russia to impede. So if you want a solution to this problem, it is rather to strengthen your electoral system and make it strong, so that next time a different enemy or folk won't come and involve your system. That is the best solution. Also, they came here and we told them that there are systems in the status quo that can help even solve this solution by not scraping off, because we have impeachment. So if you find out that the leader is not credible, why don't you impeach him and a judicial sample will sit on it and say that he's not credible, or he's not ready to handle the issue, and he will step off, just as you mentioned Bill Clinton and some people stepping off. This is not stepping off, this is you scraping them off. There is a wide difference. So you should rather impeach them so that they step off on their own, not rather scraping off, because that undermines the fundamentals of democracy, which you yourself preaches that you are coming to repair. So what did we bring into this debate as closing opposition, and why should we win this debate? We tell you that the solution you are bringing is problematic, and it's actually presenting a modern form of tyranny where you seize power from one party because they lack credibility and give it to one other form. We also tell you that in that system, there is no justice, and the democracy can never be upheld with such a method. It will rather be detrimental. Thank you, and proud to oppose.
Thank you very much, Opposition Whip. Thank you all for an interesting debate.
Thank you very much. So we would excuse the panel to go and deliberate who wins the debate and who takes the trophy home. So, in no particular order, making it to the KNUST Debate Society, we have So guys, this was a very hard deliberation, but we came to decide the people who are making it. So we have Mr. Who is clapping? So we have Mr. Imoro Ridwan. We have Mr. Justice Apia. We have Mr. Isaac Kojodia. We have Mr. Ba Joshua Kobina. We have Mr. Frank Bannerman. Where is he? Oh, okay. We have Mr. Ata Raphael. Okay. We have Mr. Adivo Peter Agbesi. We have Mr. Theophilus Dela Dumenu. We have Miss A.C. Kobler. We have Miss Jennifer Sangpao. Sakode, I saw. Sorry, we have Miss Jasmine Sangpao. Sorry, Mr. Jasmine. You're called Jasmine. Okay, we have Mr. Jasmine Sangpao. We have Miss Jennifer Sakode. We have Mr. Neil Odoe Benjamin Ashley. We have Mr. Obed Arthur. We have Mr. Andrew Steko. We have Mr. Rudolph Senam. We have Mr. Amwa Caroline. Hey, Miss Amwa Caroline, sorry. Miss Caroline, where's she? Okay. We have Mr. Gideon Ejapong. We have Mr. Rexford Yao Abuaje Henaku. We have Mr. Prosper Michael Ametu. Is he here? Okay. We have Miss Winifred Aku Adotei. Where is she? Okay. We have Miss Tracy Tenkuran. Sorry, I'm not Ghanaian, I'm sorry. Please, I may go, I'm Ghanaian. We have Mr. Riafe Ano Papa Kojo. Okay. We have Mr. Owusu Sapon Benjamin. We have Mr. Papa Kojo Riafe Ano. Where is he? Okay, so please tell him he's on probation. I told you the fact that you get in doesn't mean you stay there automatically. We have Mr. Junior Boache da Costa. We have Mr. Damiola. Where is he? We have Mr. Joshua Achu. We have Mr. Bright Ba Osu. We have Miss Kiera Nanama Purple. Purple is your surname. Pardon? What's your surname? Kira is your surname. So Purple is your first name. Wow. Okay. So we have Mr. Isaac Akwesi Menta. Oh, okay. We have Mr. Benedict Kofi Kweku. Okay. We have Mr. Seth Bedu. Miss Gerodia Ahove. Mr. Edon Bosu. Miss Owusuwa Ose Kwachi. Owusuwa. We have Miss Dinah Mafo. We have Miss Joanna Owusu-Apia. We have Miss Irekwa Mansa Krampa. So yeah, those are the people who made the 2 KDS. So there's one person that's on probation. So you tell him to come and see me. Oh, there are many. So can we please have the winners for Masters round? So this is how we'll do it. We'll do the winners for Masters round. we'll do the winners for public speaking, then we'll do the winners for the top 10 best speakers, then we'll do the winners for the tournament. So winners for masters round, Afute, can we have you? Public speaking, Erasmus. Erasmus. You've not deliberated. Please hurry up, I beg. It's not anything, you're not giving an award. So guys, those of you who made it to KDS, you would be added officially to the page. And then we will send the academic calendar for the activities that we'll be having. Lack of participation, and then being inactive and not giving a better reason as to why you don't make it to KDS training or the internal tournaments would not give you the chance to attend any external tournaments. Do you understand? And when you keep on being inactive for a number of times, you'll be removed from the page. Because you guys being in the page is as a result of some inactive members leaving. You already had a motion on being inactive, so you get what it means. Thank you.
Thank you, Dion. Today you've been full of wit. I appreciate that. For the masters round, placing fourth, OO. Placing third, OG. Placing second, CG. CO, congratulations.
So guys, next we have public speaking. So we have the top 5 best speakers, but we'll give medals to only the top 3.
Please, where's the camera? Where's the cameraman? JJ. We need to give our acceptance speech for the masters round. No, guys, no. These are the winners for public speaking from 5th to 1st. Thank you all for your participation. From 5th, we have Bright. Come for it, please. Come for your medal, please. Hey, yes. No, come for a handshake. Come and shake your president. In 4th place, we have Jennifer. 6 positions. Kamasutra. Then in 3rd place, from 3rd you receive medals, right? These guys will receive the medals. In 3rd place, we have Theophilus Della Domenio. Kindly give him a hand, please. 4 Fs. In 2nd place, oh, sorry. Oh, that's so beautiful. Please sit too. Guys. Oh, in 2nd place, we have Isaac. Isaac Dua. There's
The 4th place with the girl, right?
she know they get medal. Oh, hey,
Okay, but the debating will be there.
now, public speaking champion for the 2018 Freshers Tournament, Frank Bannerman. Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much.
So Now we'll do the best 10 top best 10 top 10 best speakers. Jacob. Please, Jacob will present the medals. Okay, for the winner. So before we give the top 10 best speakers their medals, in each hall there was a best speaker, so would like to acknowledge them. So for Continental, the best speaker, we had Mr. Isaac Dia. For Queen's Hall, the best speaker was Mr. Andrews Teku. For University Hall, the best speaker was Mr. Rexford Yao Abuachi. For Republic Hall, the best speaker was Miss Tracy Tekran. For Africa Hall, the best speaker was Miss Emanuela Ohene Kwati. She's not here. And for Indies Hall, the best speaker was Miss Naki Oko Mate. Okay, so for the top 10 best speakers, we had 9 people tying as 9th. Hey, sorry, 3 people tying as 9th. So for the 9th best public speaker, we have Mr. Rexford Yao Abuachi. Sorry, 9th best speaker, Mr. Rexford Abuachi. Please come forward. Yeah. And we also have Miss Phoebe Asa Padino. Is she here? Okay. And we have Miss Naki. Okay. For 7th best speaker, we have Mr. Jasmine Sangpao. We had 2 people tying for 7-2. We also have Mr. Ben Ashley. For 6th best speaker, For 6th best speaker, we have Mr. Dela Theophilus Dumenu. For 5th, okay. For 5th best speaker, we have Miss Jennifer Sarkodie. And for 4th best speaker, we have Miss A.C. Kobla. For 3rd best speaker, we have Mr. Andrews Teku. Hey, he looks like Hayford. It's bad. So we have a Hayford lookalike and a Gilbert lookalike and an Ellie Clean lookalike. She's not here. Ah, she's there. Gerodia. For 2nd best speaker, we have Mr. Joshua Bang. Ida. Don't miss. And the best speaker for RP for Freshman Debate Championship 2018 is Mr. Isaac Dia. And please, we had hall trainers training all the halls, and would like to acknowledge them. We are really grateful to them. So for the best hall trainer, we had Queen's Hall. We had all the teams breaking from Queen's, and then we had 6 people winning top 10 best speakers. So the best hall trainer was Mr. Jacob Johnson Aktapa. Erasmus joined later. Okay, so we have JJ. They are even saying Erasmus, so I'm sorry. We have Mr. Erasmus Segbefia. Please come forward. Erasmus, please come forward. Oh, JJ, you are sellout too. Queen's Hall, you don't sell out your coach. Okay, he'll get you.